Hi, I'm Zahra. I'm a nutritionist, beauty therapist, and a health and wellness coach. Today, I will be talking about low carb diets. So, as the name suggests, low carb diets are all about restricting the specific macronutrient called carbohydrates. And low carb diets are often done with a high fat ratio, meaning when you lower one macronutrient, you raise the other. And the whole point of that is to get into a state of ketosis. Ketosis is when your body uses fat as fuel instead of glucose as fuel. In a standard diet, which is a high carb diet, the body is accustomed to using glucose for energy. And in this method, the body functions quite differently compared to when the body is fat adapted. So let's say you're on a high carb diet currently. In this diet, when food is ingested and it is digested in the guts, the body converts those carbohydrates into glucose during the digestion process. And when the glucose enters the bloodstream, the pancreas starts to release insulin. And what insulin does, it is a hormone, it is a messenger molecule that signals the body to do something with that sugar, whether it is going to certain organs or muscles to be used, or it is being converted into fat. When the body is fat adapted, it is not using glucose as its main source of energy. Instead, it is using ketones, and ketones are produced in the body after the body becomes fat adapted by going through the ketosis process. Now, there's many reasons why one would choose to go on a low carb diet. Those include weight management, disease management, or even as a preventative to certain diseases such as diabetes. The ketogenic diet was also formulated initially to treat epilepsy. Metabolic syndrome is also another disease that is managed using the low carb diet. It also lowers inflammation, reducing brain fog, and healing certain gut issues as well. There are so many low carb diets out there. It can be really hard to choose to see which one is the right one for you, depending on what your reason is. There's the Atkins diet, there's the ketogenic diet, which is the most popular low carb diet out there. We also have the low carb high fat diet. You would think that the low carb high fat diet would be the same as a ketogenic diet, but actually in the low carb high fat diet, it's not as restrictive as a ketogenic diet. You're allowed about 50 to 150 grams of carbs per day, whereas in the ketogenic diet, it's a lot less. Some people do 5 grams of carbs, some people do 20 grams of carbs. Generally, in a ketogenic diet, you probably wouldn't have more than 50 grams of carbs. We also have low carb intermittent fasting diet, and that is basically a way to eat low carb while fasting. A lot of people do combine the low carb diets with an intermittent fasting schedule, mainly because when you're in a low carb high fat diet, you generally tend to feel a lot fuller, and it's much easier to fast for long periods of times. A lot of benefits from the low carb diets come from being in the ketosis stage, and fasting can also trigger a state of ketosis and help you maintain a state of ketosis. There is also the low carb Mediterranean diet. That diet specifically is not super low carb. It mainly only restricts grains, legumes, and dairy products along with sugar and breads. So you're still having a wide variety of vegetables. They just tend to be high fiber, low carb fruits and veggies. Another type of low carb diet is the ketotarian or Eco-Atkins diet. Basically, they are the plant-based version of the ketogenic or the low carb high fat diet. In these diets, they get their fats and proteins from plant-based sources such as tofu, tempeh, seitan, and other legumes and lentils. And so in this way, the ketotarian diet and the Eco-Atkins diet is more so for people who don't want to consume meat while also being on a low carb diet. So with so many different diets out there, how do you know which one is the right one for you? First, you have to figure out the reason why you would want to switch to a low carb diet. Some people experience allergies from the phytonutrients and the phytotoxins that are present in plant foods. There are also issues such as food addiction that low carb diets can help with. But at the end of the day, it's best to consult with your GP or with a dietitian or a nutritionist before changing your diet so that you can work out a step-by-step process of why you're going to do it and how you're going to achieve it and how you're going to maintain it. Having someone there to guide you can be really helpful, and that can take a lot of pressure off planning your meals because the adaptation process to a low carb diet can be quite challenging. One diet that I didn't mention in these low carb, high fat diets is the carnivore diet. Now, a carnivore diet is more of a zero carb diet that tends to be a lot more restrictive. So, I hope you learned something about low carb diets from this video. Was there a diet that you'd never heard of before? Is there a different low carb diet that you've tried that I didn't mention? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to know your experiences with low carb diets and how you've managed to stay on them and maintain it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay well.